older I got, I think my anger, it started channeling into like being able to read people. So it's like, all right, I was picked on for like what I guess people would say like my faults, right? So I just learned to read everybody's fault. And how that manifested itself is like, you ever turn against me, I'll use everything that I've learned about you against you. And I'll do it in the most harmful way so that you know never to cross me again. Like, I don't know. Like it sounds terrible saying it out loud, but that's just how I was, you know? Like so,
Yeah.
but that's also that same thing that made me um I guess vindictive was also what made me like so loyal of a friend. Because if I let you in and I trusted you, then you know I had your back, ride or die.
Welcome to the Taking Off the Mask podcast. My name is Ashanti Branch, and I'm glad that you've joined us. Today's guest is Jordon Hodges. Jordon is an alumni of the Ever Forward Club. He lives in Southern California now. He's a father. He's a college graduate. And he's going to tell you a little bit about his story and some of his big accomplishments in his life. But one of the things I'm really thankful for Jordon is that in his journey of being a part of Ever Forward and graduating, he set an example for his friends. He set an example for his friends about what it meant to do your best. And I'm really thankful that he was not only a part of Ever Forward, but that I continue to stay in touch with him to learn more about this young man and his journey to life. I hope that as we move into 2021, one of the topics that he talked about was anger and how other emotions show up as anger. And I think that maybe this week, or this past week, you've seen anger showing up in so many different ways, and maybe some ugly ways. As much as we know that so many of the men that we saw involved in events of last week, we hope that more men get a space to let go of what they're dealing with and what they're going through in healthy ways so that they don't end up in these ways showing up. But also we have a big world out here. We have lots of different ways of showing up in the world. Some ways are acceptable by most and some are not. One of the things I'm really excited about in these conversations is that men get a space to talk about what they're going through, talk about how they show up in the world, and to also explore the fact that there's so many parts of ourselves that we don't show up as. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We look forward to you being a part of not only the Million Mask movement, but in the Taking Off the Mask experience. So if you have a young man, a man in your life who you think would want to be a part of this, please reach out to us. And we look forward to you staying in touch with this work that we're doing with men all over the world. Thank you. Have a great beginning of the 2021 year. Ever Forward. So I am so glad to be sitting here with, I say with because even though we're on these screens, I get to see his face with Jordon Hodges. And Jordon, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Branch.
Man, so why don't, as we just get started, why don't you just introduce yourself to our audience and just let folks know who you are? And I like our audience, our guests, to like introduce themselves to the space.
All right, for sure. So I'm Jordon Hodges. I was born in Oakland, California. Met Branch at San Lorenzo High School, San Lorenzo, California. At San Lorenzo, I was the first Black valedictorian. That's one of my crowning achievements to this day, outside of graduating from UC Irvine, which was my alma mater for college. Currently, I work in the cannabis industry. I did not expect to be here, but I am. I am in the HR field though. I am the sole HR representative at this time. The company, we are expanding and growing. We actually will have a depot up in San Francisco, so keep an eye out. Company name is Amuse, so we'll be around. Um, it's been a crazy 10 years or so since high school. A lot has happened. I do have a daughter. She is a beautiful 8-year-old, very out there. That's the best way to classify her. But I love her to death. Yeah. What else you want to know?
Oh man, that's beautiful. I appreciate I just learned four things I didn't know. I didn't know the little one was 8 already. That went fast. I didn't know the industry you're working in. So we are really catching up, even though we kind of check in once in a while on text,
Right.
And I'll let you all know that, when Jordon and I first met, Ever Forward was a running club. When he showed up at San Lorenzo High, we had a connection. I had in one or two occasions met his older brother. I didn't know that they were brothers, but I met Jordon. He was just, something was really captivating me about him. He was in my math class. And I remember like just how the ease at which he kind of like just got stuff done. And I remember sometimes trying to push him to help other people. And I remember we having this like the little resistance of in the beginning. I'm like, dude, you're so like, I need your help in here. Like, you got this, this stuff. Like, and I remember just what I remembered when I don't remember what he said, but I remember what I felt. And it was like, that's how I was in high school. This idea that I had a lot of information, but there was a image that had to happen on the outside, and I could do it for myself. But then when I have to like try and I don't know that what answer he gave me, but I remember saying, I'm not going to pressure him to do that. I'm not going to pressure him to share it with all of his talents with everyone else. But he began to start a little bit doing it on his own. Like I asked, there was a little bit of tension there. Like, no, I can do it for myself, but I don't know if I can explain to other people. I'm like, of course you can explain because you just did it so amazingly, right? And I remember one of the first pictures I took of students working together. It was Jordon, it was Erica, Khadijah. I want to say it was Khadijah, but I remember that picture like it was yesterday. They were like leaning in, they were working together, and I remember blowing that picture up and putting it on the wall. And I think when he saw that picture, he's like, "What the heck are you doing?" And I remember like taking it down the next day. I was like, "Oh, it didn't get the response I was hoping for." But it was an amazing photo, by the way. I gotta go back and try and find it. But thank you for being here, brother. I'm so glad to see you. And
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
yeah. And one of the things I also learned with Jordon, and we're going to jump into these masks in a second. So one of the things I remember was that when we first started the Ever Forward Club, our population of young men was a higher population of Latino young men than African American young men. And I didn't know why. I didn't know what I was doing wrong or what I was doing in that way right, but not connecting to the young African American young men. And I remember when I started inviting them to the club, like we had to like try some new things. So we started the Get Rich crew. And so Jordon was a part of the Get Rich crew with about 4 other African-American young men. And we were playing Rich Dad, Poor Dad together. We were like, they would come in, we'd have a separate meeting. We're playing this game. We're learning about money and investing and finances and the quadrants, the employee, I don't even remember them anymore, but all the 4 quadrants and really like, man, you got to do the math, right? You got to figure out your money. Like, you know what I'm saying? You buy an investment. Here's how much it adds to your assets. Here's how much your expenses are. And that became how those young men connected in a very different way, because we were trying to teach them about financial literacy, about what your goals are, and but looking at the world in a bigger way than just getting a job and getting a paycheck, and figuring out how do I become a person who is not at the mercy of a check or at the mercy of an owner. And those are the things that I think were really deepening our connection, because those meetings were intense, because we all wanted to win. I mean, the win was to get out of the rat race. It wasn't competing against you necessarily. It was my goal was to get out of the rat race. And the rat race means that the money I make from my assets are more than I was making from my income. So therefore I don't need to work anymore. And now I get to live in the lap of luxury. Right. And so that was a flashback. That was, I don't remember if you remember those days, but
yeah, I do.
Yeah, man. We can go on. There's many stories that, Jordon and I have connected. I sent him a few pictures recently from a college tour that he went on with us. And I guess, this worked. He's an adult, you're an adult. I met you when you were 15, maybe. I mean,
14? Yeah.
14. Mm-hmm. And now here we are, like, Ever Forward started 2004 at San Lorenzo High. And now we get to connect again in this way, so thank you. Thanks for being here.
Oh, most definitely. Thanks for having me again.
So this movement, I'm not sure how much I have told you already about the movement, but this is called the Million Mask Movement. And this podcast really started out from our young people, really trying to figure out how to tell the story in a bigger way, but also give them engagement. And so you and I are going to make a mask together, and we've had several deep talks over the years, but maybe this one is a new one. We get to have a connection that is about these masks that we wear, and we get to share our masks and then decide how much more we want to go, how deep we want to go. Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. So for those of you out there that have not made a mask or are looking to make a mask, you can go to www.100kmasks.com. And there is a digital tool where you can make your mask anonymously. And Jordon and I are going to actually make our masks here with you today. So, Jordon, on the first, if you have a piece of paper, or do you have a note piece of paper? Just fold it in half.
Yeah, I got.
Okay, great. Paper. So just fold it in half, or draw a line down the middle so you can have the left side and the right side. And we'll do the mask first, and then we'll share them with each other.
Right.
All right. So the first step on the left side, we're just going to call the left side the front, and we'll call the right side the back. So you think about the card is like separated into two parts like that: the front of mask and the back of mask. And so on the left side, I want you just to draw a mask, like whatever nowadays we think about masks. I got two of them in my pocket. We think about these personal protection masks, but we're not talking about those kind of masks necessarily. We're talking about like the masks of like emotional disconnection. So when you think of masks, pre-March 2020, when you thought of a mask, you probably didn't think of mask with a HEPA filter or whatever. We thought about maybe some other kind of mask. But whatever you think of when you think of a mask, I want you to draw a mask, okay?
Right. It's gonna be a terrible drawing. Just
whatever you draw is perfect. How's it coming?
Whatever
it is perfect. Don't worry. It's not, as much as this is a creative experience, it's all about the mask. Is just just gives us a little tangible representation. Yeah. So don't worry about the art. The art is Corbray was our resident artist. Like right. I'm not an artist either, but I'll just put something down on paper.
Right.
All right. You finished with the mask?
Yeah.
All right.
As good as can get.
There you go. That's perfect. It's perfect. Well, when you see the ones on our web that we've collected around the world, you will see some people just draw eyes. Some they're just like, okay, I'm gonna draw some eyes. That's all. Whatever it is perfect. The first step, or the second step, so this activity is one picture plus 6 words. Now, if you want more than 6 words, you can draw more than 6 words. But this on the right side, where the front of mask is, I want you to write 3 words that are qualities of yourself that you gladly let the world see. What are 3 qualities or characteristics of yourself that, when you step out the house, you go to the world, what's up, world? These are qualities, 3 of them, that you gladly let people see. Write those somewhere on the left side, on the front. All right. Now, when we move to the back is quite different than the front. The back are the things that we normally don't let people see. Parts of things that we normally keep to ourselves or we don't let people see. But pick 3 that you feel comfortable sharing, 3 qualities or characteristics that you normally don't let people see, and write those on the back, where it's on the right side where it says back of mask. Okay?
Got it.
Okay.
That third one is hard.
Well, if you only got 2, then leave it at 2. No pressure to have 3. As we go through it, one more may come up as you think about it.
Gotcha.
All right. So here we go. Now, the way we normally do it on the show is I give the guests the opportunity to choose who wants to go first. Do you want to go first? Do I go first? And you get to choose, and then we'll start that process there.
All right. I don't mind going first. You want me to just show the front first?
Yeah, just show the front, and then
So that's my mask. I don't know if you can see that.
All right. Right on. Good. There you go. There's a mask. It's perfect.
And then my words: strong, funny, confident. So that's what everybody see.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go to the front. I'm gonna just cover this one up with something else so that I don't. Let me see. Okay. So this is the front. I'm using the card. This is one of the cards we use. So the front of mask. Can you see it? Let me see. Get closer that way. Okay, there we go. Front of mask, and I wrote hardworking, serious, and funny as the qualities that I gladly let the world see. So you want to tell me anything about any of the ones on the front that stand out to you?
Um, I mean, they all kind of stand out because I think that like upon encountering me, that is, I guess, the most perceived qualities. In regards to how I believe I let myself be seen, not necessarily how people see me. Like I think it's a key difference because depending if I'm asking how people see me, those words definitely change. So, but I believe I display a strength, especially being black in Orange County. Like you kind of have to. Like there's not too many of us out here. Funny, if you engage with me, like I can't take myself too serious. So I'm like I don't expect nobody else to. And then confident, it kind of ties into the same thing. It's just you kind of gotta walk it like you talk it. So can't be or you can't appear weak, timid, especially like not even just because of the race thing, but like my size. I'm too big a dude to be timid. So, it just, I carry that with me, like, like not necessarily untouchable, like, but it's like, man, you can bring that here though,
Man, well, I mean, I wrote hardworking, serious, and funny, and I think it's definitely connected to this idea of working hard. I mean, I work hard because I think I'm confident, but I know that, like, I wish I had more skills. So I feel like I got to work harder sometimes than others to like get to the certain same level, and so the hardworking part is one of those that I really put a lot of energy and time in to like being dedicated to my work and trying to show up in other arenas where I know that our work will be kind of noticed because that's the world we live in. And serious is a part of that too. It's like, this work is serious to me. I take it serious. I try not to take myself too serious, but I take the work so serious, right? Because it's like I've been building this thing for 16 years, right? And it's like, right, in my mind, we would be at a whole different level than we are. So I think I continue pushing forward around that. And funny, I enjoy laughing. I enjoy having a good time. And that funny and serious are kind of like sometimes have a hard time balance, right? Because I think I'm more serious than I am funny, even though I still like to be funny, right?
Right.
And so I think sometimes it's important also that I'm not funny when I should be serious because people are not taking what I'm saying seriously, right? And that can be interesting when you're a leader. Like if you're telling your team and you're keeping it lightweight, but you're really serious and you're keeping it like more, they may not get that you're trying to make corrective action in their behavior, or the way they show up at work, and
Right.
that's really important. So those are things that I think are really critical to the growth. So that was the front. How was that? Easy enough?
Yeah, that was definitely easy.
Okay. So now we're moving to the back though.
Right.
And you only had 2 on the back at that time. So here we go.
I wrote 3, but
Okay.
I'll explain my third one because it's tied to the first one. So
okay. All right.
I'll start sadness, anxious, and then angry.
Yeah.
I'll explain the third one and how it ties into the first one. Is I don't know how to display sadness, so it's easier to convert it to anger. So a lot of times that emotion is misrepresented. So my anger can be interpreted as, oh, he's mad all the time, but in actuality, it may mean that I'm sad or that I'm going through something. But the only way that I know how to display that emotion, or like, it's just like with the excitement. I can't. It's real hard for me to show excitement or to display that emotion. So it's like this excitement, then I seem more nonchalant. But if I'm sad, then I seem angry. And it's like, because it just, to me, anger is a much better emotion to get things done. So it's like when you're sad, you don't want to do anything, you mope, you feel down, you beat yourself up. But anger, like I can get everything done being mad. So I may allow myself sadness in my my downtime, you're in the shower or, drive home from work or something like that. But, for the most part though, I'm like, I don't like to hold on to that. So it kind of just changes into the anger. And that's, sometimes that, that comes across in like my relationships and things like that. And it's like, it may not necessarily be because I'm mad. it may be because I'm sad. And then I do, admittedly, I do suffer with depression. So a lot of times if I get depressed, it's just, again, I can, I can't, it's hard to be active in depression. So it's easier to be active in anger. So I can, it's just a better funnel for me to get things done or to kind of like get myself out of that funk. But, obviously it has its impacts on like the people I interact with, my loved ones, how I respond to certain situations, etc. And then like anxious, I do suffer from, well, I don't suffer from it, but I find myself suffering from like anxiety, for different reasons, whether it be like career choices, relationships with family, friends, etc., or, like trying to foresee the future or, like just essentially like looking out for everybody else, but not necessarily like taking care of myself in doing so. And so then I become anxious because it's like there's things that I want to do, but I know doing those things may not necessarily, sit well with other people. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna look out for your feelings and then cast mine aside. And now, and then it ties back into that anger and then that sadness because I'm like, it's a juggling act with these emotions. And it's like, all right, so which one can I sit with today so that I can get through the day kind of thing. So
Yeah. Oh wow, brother, that was beautiful. And first of all, thank you for sharing that. Um, I'm going to share mine, and then maybe we'll just chat about them because I think that you said some beautiful things in there that I think could serve a lot of men out there and a lot of young men out there, and even a lot of people in relationships with men out there. So I wrote on the back. So here we go. So the back of mask, I wrote sadness, fear of failure, and trauma. And I think lately over this last several months, I've been really tapping into a lot of the places like where a lot of those things come from. That I don't usually let them show. Like I think in the last, I joined a men's team. I started ever 16 years ago, but 10 years ago is when I joined my own team of a men, and I realized, oh, there's a lot that's going on, right? That I don't talk about because I'm usually with my students, with the young men all day, or I'm at work, I'm teaching, whatever. And where do you go and talk about these real things? And it wasn't until I saw a circle of 40, 50 men like taking off their mask, but before I was using the language about masks, but I'm like, wow, they're getting real here. They're having real conversations about real stuff. Like, what? Where? I didn't even know this existed. Is this possible? And in the beginning, you're like, something's wrong. Something's wrong here, right? Because if you're not used to it, it doesn't seem like it's it's normal. And I think when I began to like really trust that space, it was like, man, where has this been all my life? It's a place where I could like talk about the fear, like talk about I'm working so hard working, right? And a super fear of failure, right? And those are kind of opposites, right? I mean, if you work hard, then why would you be so fearful of failing? But I think it's because I have a deep fear of failing that I'm working so hard, right?
definitely, that makes sense.
And I think that, going off to college and like trying to figure out how to get out of there and then getting out of there and then getting a good job and then deciding I'm going to go become a teacher, like that was a hard move because I wanted to be rich. You know what I'm saying? Like I had a vision, right? And I think that when I think so. There was something about becoming a teacher that made me work even harder because I wasn't going to be a financial success. Becoming a teacher wasn't going to like make me feel really good about my financial well-being. It made me feel good about giving back and about doing the work. But I think that if I was really just digging in, as I've been working on digging in, me trying to work so hard at teaching and at Ever Forward was like, I want to feel like I'm making a difference somewhere, right? Because originally I just want to be rich. I mean, that was what becoming an engineer was like. I love math, I love science. I'm gonna be an engineer. I'm gonna make a lot of money. I'm gonna be feeling great. And when I realized that making the money didn't fix all the problems, you know what I'm saying? That seems odd for somebody who hasn't ever experienced it, right? You think that once you have no money, if you have money now, the problems are gone.
Right.
But we see many of professional athletes, stars, superstars, who then get all the money and then are no more happy and actually kind of create more chaos for their own life, in so many ways. So anyway, those are the three that stood out to me. And I wrote sadness as one. And it's really interesting that you wrote anger as a way to not show that thing, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Just in your own, like, growing up or even now, how do you see other men in your life, or men that you know, or just men that you witness operate in the same way, where you use anger as two ways: as one, to just not deal with certain emotions, but also as a targeting tool to say, okay, let me move into action to do something about this other thing. Do you see other that happen in the lives of other men you know?
Um, to be quite honest, not really. Like I mean, like my older brother, like we it runs on my mom's side of the family, and then it also runs on my dad's side of the family, the anger. So we've all, had our bouts with that particular emotion, but I think the way that I utilize that emotion is strictly my own. Whereas like a lot of family, they get mad, they lash out, like whether it be, talking smack to each other, leading to fights and things like that. Like it's like, you know, you get mad, you react, it's over kind of situation. Whereas with me, that's not how that's just not how I operate. Like, yeah, I guess it'll require a lot of explanation because like my anger started from a child because like I would be like picked on and stuff. And so, but I was also a very emotional child. So I would cry a lot. And, growing up, you can't cry. So crying then for me became like, that was like a red flag. That was a danger. So it was like, all right, Jordon is crying, you run. Like, cause he's going to grab whatever, he's going to do what he's going to try to get you. Right. So like, as I got older, I matured in the sense that I was more calculated. So I'm like, you make me mad now. Okay, I'm not gonna get you back right now. I'm gonna draw this one out. And then, it's just, but my payback was always so much worse and like way bigger than the original incident. And it's so far after you've forgotten what you've done to me that it's like, what did I do to you? And it's like, well, I remembered and this is how I got you back. How do you feel about it? So it was like, I was always that you hit me once, I'm gonna hit you like 6, 7 times, and I'm gonna do it when you least expect it. So like the older I got, I think my anger, it started channeling into like being able to read people. So it's like, all right, I was picked on for like what I guess people would say like my faults, right? So I just learned to read everybody's fault. And how that manifested itself is like, you ever turn against me, I'll use everything that I've learned about you against you. And I'll do it in the most harmful way so that you know never to cross me again. Like, and like, I don't know. Like, it sounds terrible saying it out loud, but that's just how I was. Like, so, but that's also that same thing that made me, um, I guess, vindictive was also what made me like so loyal of a friend. Because if I let you in and I trusted you, then I had your back, ride or die. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know, like that. I don't. It's too many different avenues when it comes to anger. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
like it opens up so many different doors. But I guess to kind of touch back to how it relates to sadness is like, yeah, that little kid that was picked on. It's like, oh, I'm cool. Like, I was super friendly. Like I just wanted to be everybody's friend. And it's like, y'all messing with me and I ain't even did nothing to you. Like,
right.
why are y'all coming at me? So then it's like, all right, now I got to defend myself. But, I was emotional, so I would cry. I'm like, it hurts my feelings. Like, why are you like this to me? And it was just
Yeah,
like, when people don't hear you, it's like, okay, you got to find a way to deal with that. And so it created that, that connection. It was like, all right, you get sad, get mad. It works better. So,
yeah,
and,
yeah,
you know, and it's just kind of, it's always, it's just follow me. And then the older I get, it's a more mature anger, I would say. So now, like I said, it's not so much about lashing out or like that quick snap of the, it's like, okay, in my adulthood, after having a child, I try to let most things go. It doesn't always work. It doesn't always work. I still find that I can still be pretty vindictive, even unintentionally. But it's like, you cross me, okay, it's cool. You got one, but you got one coming. So, like, I'll be trying, and I work on it, but it's not perfect, not at all. But I would say that my anger has matured, and that's what
yeah,
I mean by like I use it as a driving force now, and I don't view my anger. anymore as a bad thing. Like before, it was like, oh, he has anger issues, he has anger problems, he needs anger management. Well, in high school, I enrolled myself in the anger management.
Mm.
The counselor told me there's nothing he can do for me because I was too self aware. I already knew all of my triggers. I already knew all of those things that made me mad. I knew where a lot of this trauma was coming from. So it was like, well, how can I offer you advice when you figured out the problem? It's just you got to figure out your response now, you know. So
Yeah.
and the
Oh,
older I
wow.
get, you know, it's like that's just me trying to figure out that response. Like, okay, one, well, it's twofold, right? Because it's like one, it's okay to be sad, and my daughter is, she teaching me that, it's like you can be sad, like, and it's all right. It doesn't make you weak. And I'm not a kid, so there's like who's gonna nobody's here to pick on me. Like, and I'm 6'1". Like, who's you ain't picking on me. Like, I ain't got the same problems that I used to have. Like we like if you could see my shirt, like try Jesus, don't try me because I fight. Like, so I'm like, it's a whole different breed of animals.
Oh, you gotta send me a picture of that shirt so I can use it in the episode.
I
That's
got you.
great. That's priceless.
Yeah.
Man, you everything you said was so powerful, and I've just been taking it in because it's good to know this part. I mean, I wonder, you were as a young man in high school. I mean, I remember meeting you as a freshman. You were in my algebra class. You didn't even want to be in my algebra class because you like already passed this in the 8th grade. But since some tests didn't happen and they didn't give you the credit, I remember you were upset. And I'm like, look, just write it out, brother. Just write it out. I don't get to make the rules. I don't know what happened in 8th grade. But I remember us having that first discussion. You were like, man, I already did this stuff, And I could see the frustration in you, but there was no way of, there was no magic. At that time, it was like that mandatory algebra, blah, blah, blah. It was,
Right.
and I was like, I know you know this stuff, but I don't know what to do. But if you got to pass this class, you can't just not do, I remember all these times. But one of the things you became the valedictorian at a school that had never had an African-American student, period. Definitely not an African-American male as a valedictorian. Like that was beautiful. That was beautiful. And it was stunning, right? I mean, I knew you were a good math student, but I didn't really see you in other classes. I knew you were a good guy, and I knew that you were talented. And I think the first time you told me that you had a 4.0 was like sophomore year, right? I think it was like freshman year. You never brought your report card to me. As our relationship began to connect, I remember when you saying, Branch, I got a 4.0. I'm like, what? You're like, no, for real. I'm like, show me. And then you whip out this transcript. And I'm like, wait a minute. You didn't have wait, stop playing. What's going on? Like, you have 4.0s ever since you started here. How didn't I know this, right? Because I wasn't really checking. I wasn't like, let me look at your grades. I was really just building connection with students, So it was a very different kind of relationship we had. I didn't ever have to think I had to worry about you, but I didn't know how amazing you were already doing. And when I found out, I was so proud of you, brother. And I was so like, let me ask you this. How did you navigate San Lorenzo High School, a community where, now, for those who know San Lorenzo High, there's 2 high schools in San Lorenzo. There's Arroyo. They're considered statistically, historically, that's the good school. And San Lorenzo, it's a school by the tracks. They're the bad school. Now, I never thought of it like that, but if you know people who live in San Lorenzo, that's the way they kind of described them.
Right.
Unfortunately. But you being there, because I think you actually live closer to Arroyo.
Yeah, I live right around the corner.
Yeah. So how did you navigate San Lorenzo? And maybe this is the only question I have, but just in accomplishing that amazing goal, right? I think valedictorian is hard at any school, right? But how did you navigate all of that while still keeping whatever you need to do within your friend group? And then I think a lot of friends you hung out with knew that you were amazing and you were very talented and smart. But how'd you do it? How do you remember how you did it?
Honestly, well, because the school part wasn't ever hard. Like doing the work, like I always had a work first, play later kind of mindset. So if anything, like my biggest fault sometimes was like getting bored. So I'll finish work and then I'll distract others, or like I'll sometimes depending on the subject, right? Like I want to help out or I'll distract, and it's like, man, I'm bored. Like, what else is there to do? But I think like just going into high school, like I just knew what an honor it was to be valedictorian because it meant you were number one. So, and it was funny because there was I won't disclose the name of the teacher, but there was a teacher who actually tried to discourage me from being valedictorian. There was like, it's not that big of a deal, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Valedictorian, you're number one in the school. Like, what are you talking about? How's that not like? Why would, as a teacher, why are you trying to discourage me from like attempting or achieving this feat? And I think it was just he was mad because I was beating out his favorite students, and I was like, for you, I'm gonna definitely get it. Like, so I'm like, I'm gonna take your AP class and I'm gonna still get it. Watch. And that's exactly what happened. So, but no, honestly, like, so freshman year, I think it was like after the first quarter, like, how they do the little student recognition awards. I got like five. And I was like, this is crazy. Like every subject they was calling Jordon Hodges. And I'm like, man, this is wild. So that like kind of set it in stone for me. Like, nah, I gotta make this happen all of the years that I'm here. So every year I had to make sure I was on that stage because I knew that I was making my mom's proud. Like, not necessarily dissing my brother or my sister, but we all had our own paths, right? So like my brother, his focus wasn't necessarily on the academic side. My sister, like she had her own issues with like her social circle and things that kind of prevented her from achieving what she could have achieved. But like I had my social circle, I had, it's San Lorenzo, so we had our beef with people and everything like that. But I was just always able to like separate what happens outside of school and my school work. So it's like, regardless of whatever beef we got, who wants to fight this week? Because there was a point where it was like almost every week it was about to be a fight. Like, so it was like, that's separate from my schoolwork though. So it was like, regardless, like I think I missed a total of 3 days of school, like in my entire, almost not, let me not say that, maybe like four, like because I definitely was like absent once a year type. When I got suspended from Mr. V and my hat, that made me mad. Freshman year, it was Desiree who got me suspended, and that made me mad. But like it was just like I enjoy school. Like I used to sell candy. That's how I paid for PSATs and winter ball tickets and things like that. So it's like, school was my hustle. Like, some people went to school, to like mess around. And it's like I could do all of that. I can mess around, I can do my work, I can make a profit, you know what I'm saying? And then like when I got into acting and things like that, I'm like, and I can do stuff to have fun. So, I tried to make the most of that experience. I think the only thing that I didn't do was like sports, and that's just because I didn't care for a lot of people on the sports teams because of their mindset or what I perceive their mindsets to be. I wasn't really a fan of like that jock kind of mentality. Like, we're better than you because we play sports. So like that's why my group of friends were so eclectic, because I had friends who were on those sports teams, but our core group was so diverse, and it's like that's how I like my life to be. Like, it's like I didn't like to be like stuck in one thing or classified as one thing. Like, I consider my group of friends the weirdos because while we were cool as hell, we was also hella weird. But you would only know that if you were hanging out with our group. So, but I love them boys to death. But they was my motivation too, because I know that like within our group, like we didn't have the most studious individuals, but it's like it gave them somebody to look up to. And it's like, I know that y'all can accomplish this because I'm doing it. How can I help you get here? And with like very few exceptions, they all did really well. You know what I mean? Not saying that I necessarily influenced all of it, but I do think having a friend that was like gunning for this top spot, then it's like, yo, why can't we follow suit? And
Yeah.
I think that kind of, like I had to be the top because I needed to make all of these people around me proud. Like I
Yeah.
wanted them to be proud, like, yo, that's my boy right there. And so
Man, that's amazing. I want two stories I want to tell. One, I remember at your graduation. So I there's lots of years of graduation. But I'm trying to remember yours in particular. But I remember, did you do a song, a rap Did you
Oh, I
do a
rapped.
poem? You
Oh
rapped.
no,
Yeah,
I rapped.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they
He had
was
a
mad.
rap. I remember there was I remember you performing something. I'm like, what's going on here? What's going on? And
Yeah,
I'm on the teacher side. I'm looking at. I stood up in the aisle, like I mean, the side aisle. No one could really see me. And I was just like, I couldn't stay still. I was like, what is going on? What's going on? And I also remember something even more really powerful is that one of your friends who didn't actually get to walk the stage, like I remember the street on the side of Paramount Theater. We were all out there taking pictures. I remember a picture I took with all of you. And I remember one of your friends didn't make it. And but he was there celebrating with you all just like it was his, you know? And I think
right,
that I'll never forget that moment of like he knew that he had to make some adjustments to get himself to also the same place.
right.
But he was there cheering you all on as if it was his own. And that was really telling about there's friends that you created around you in that space. And so I was really honored to see that. And there was another story I was going to tell, but that's the one that just rang out as true as for me right now. So, brother, I want to appreciate you. This activity that we've been doing with one picture in 6 words. We set a big goal. Like
Right.
it says right there, million mask movement. Like I don't know how we're going to collect 1,000,000 masks, but I do know that every mask matters. And every time I get to talk to someone, and we're trying to build out this experience, this movement. So if you know any young men in your lives who you think could benefit from having a conversation around these masks, I think it's really just like us getting to know each other better, know that we're all human and we see
Mm,
the world sometimes in different ways. But because we get taught or trained that or believe that no one really sees us, and when we stop seeing each other, we sometimes perpetuate what's happening on the outside to us, to each other.
right.
Right. So I want us to build a space for more young men and men to be able to find a safe space to take off that mask, to recognize, man, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one that turns other emotions as anger, and then they show up in a bigger way than they were supposed to because I didn't deal with that emotion. And how
Right.
do we do it in a way where we can help more young men find peace and find safety in doing it the right way and in a healthy way, right? I think
Right.
all emotions are necessary and they're all valid, but how do we navigate them? And if we don't have emotional language, then we can't deal with the emotions. I
Right.
heard one of my mentors say, if you can't name it, you can't tame it. You know, luckily you went to the counselor. He was like, look, I don't know how to help you. You already know what the thing is. You got to figure out how to navigate it after it arrives.
Right.
Right. And how many young people don't even know what causes them to act out in so many ways? Some of them are just drinking, smoking, texting, sexing it all the way because they think that's what's going to make it better. But as soon as that wears off, they're back into the slump again.
Hmm.
And we just got to give them more language so that at least they know how they're navigating it. And are you okay with that? And if you're not okay with that, then hey, maybe there's some other strategies that you can use to navigate it in a good way, you know?
Definitely. Definitely.
So any last minute, man, this has been beautiful. I don't have anything more to say. I don't know if there's anything more you want to add. I'm so thankful that you made time for today. I'm so glad to see you again. I'm so proud of you, brother. And I look forward to having a more conversations in the future about, you know, what you're working on and what you're doing. And also just how do we continue serving young people in your community? Because I imagine there's young people in your community who need to explore these masks, and
Right.
where the campaign is ready to grow as far as we can go.
Yeah. No. I mean, that's it for me. But I do look forward to touching base with you a little bit more frequently. Always anybody who asks, I'm like, Branch, that's my mentor. Like I'm trying to be like Branch. So, I'm like, let's go ahead. Keep that open line of communication. However I can best help your movement. Let me know.
Thank you, brother. Well, we're gonna be, I remember that tour that you gave our young people when we had our college tour back when you were at Irvine, and one of those unforgettable trips that we got to have. And I look forward to when we can travel again back to LA and take our young
Right.
people, come down. We probably won't take them to your new job, but we know we will. I ain't trying to get fired or anything, you know what I mean?
Right.
But we will like let them learn on the outside somewhere about
Right.
what's happening in the world, right? How
Right. I
our
can I
people.
can give them some corporate. I'm corporate HR, so I'll partake.
Oh man, but knowing that also there's an opportunity for them, there's an opportunity for them if they chose to be in that industry, that
plenty of people that don't like us are making billions of dollars from,
Right.
and we are the consumers mostly, right?
Exactly.
And how do we not be only the consumers of a thing that used to cause us to be locked up for years and years for the. That's a whole nother webinar. That's a whole other conversation. So we will come to that soon. Brother, thank you. Thank you for your time today. I look forward to seeing you soon. And folks out there, if you want to be a part of this movement, if you want to have a conversation with a friend, with somebody, a face-to-face conversation, go to our podcast. You can find us on everywhere where you find your podcast. And I hope that you will get involved. If nothing else, go make a mask and share it with someone else. www.100kmasks.com, 100kmasks.com. And we look forward to you being a part of this movement with us. Get involved and follow us anywhere you can follow the podcast or social media, Ever Forward Club. We look forward to seeing you all in the future. Thank you for being with us today. Ever Forward. Thank you, Jordon.
No problem. Thank you.
If what you heard today you enjoyed, if you've listened to this and you found something inspiring, please like and subscribe to this podcast. That's the best way for someone to find this podcast, maybe like you did. Please tell someone about it. If you know, listen to some of our previous episodes, and if one of them rings out to you, please share it with somebody you know. We also invite people to join us in a face-to-face where they come together with another person to make a mask and talk about that mask together. There's short conversations, about 20, 30 minutes. So if that's something that's interesting to you, please send us a message, send us in the comments below, let us know that you're interested in that. And we look forward to you joining the movement of the Million Mask Movement. And check out our new shirt. I don't know if you can see it, but this is our new shirt, the Million Mask Movement. And so we'll have these soon available. But we look forward to you being a part of the movement and supporting our work. Please consider supporting the work that we do in Ever Forward and in the work that we do in the Million Mask Movement to let people around the world realize that they're not alone. Thank you.